For this assignment, you're going to use the spreadsheet template that's provided in the assignment in Google Classroom and fill it in with the data that's provided to you. When you're done, it should look exactly like the spreadsheet in this video. Then you can start to work with the functions in the spreadsheet to find the min, max, mean, median, and mode of the data. Once you're done that, you're going to make an assessment as to what mark a student should be assigned, min, max, median, or mode, and then you'll make a justification as to why you chose that particular measure of central tendency to represent the student's mark. This is what your teachers do every time they have to come up with a final mark for your report card. Once you've got the data entered, now you want to go in and put in functions to give us the min, median, mode, mean, and max for each of the data sets. Let's see how that works. We'll start off with min. We hit an equal sign because we're going to be putting in a formula. Then we type min because we're typing in a function, and it asks us for the value. So we're looking for the data set that we're going to put in. We can click and drag the mouse and then release the mouse and press enter. That then finds the minimum number in that data set. It's also smart enough to recognize that we probably want to do that for everybody else, so we can go ahead with the suggested autofill, and it does that for us. Now for the median, similar, we want to say equals, type in the word median and an open bracket, and then click and drag to select the section that we want, let the mouse go, and press enter, and we find the median. Then we've got mode, so we type equals mode with a bracket, and again select the data, click drag, press enter. When we get to the mean value, this time we don't actually have a mean function, however we do have an average function, which is exactly the same. So again, type in average, select the data range, and press enter. And we'll go ahead with the autofill here. I left these out because I'm going to come back to them. And max, we're going to say equals max, bracket, and then select those last two ranges and press enter. And we'll do the autofill there too. Now I left these two out just to illustrate a point. If you select this one, you can say select that cell, press Control C, then highlight the next four groups. So click and drag your mouse over those next four. And when you press in Control V, it will automatically copy that cell's contents and paste it into the others. But most importantly, you'll notice if you look up here, you can see how it's doing median from H6 to O6. If I move down to the next one, now it's from H7 to O7. So it's changing the row as you copy. So it automatically knew that because you're moving it down a row, you wanted to be working with the next row of data as well. So it did that automatically for you. And another way of accomplishing the same thing, if we look at this mode column, if I select all of the rows in the mode column and press Control D, it automatically copies that function, the mode command, and modifies it appropriately for each line as it goes down. So H, row 6, row 7, row 8, row 9, and so on. Now you notice with row 9, it gave an error. It said not applicable, and that's because when you look at this data, there is no mode there. That's the way you use some of the built-in functions in Sheets to calculate minimum, median, mode, mean, maximum. You have similar functions in Excel if you're using the Excel spreadsheet, and it just gets you to the final solutions much more quickly than if you had to add everything up by hand and then divide by the number. The other video I've got shows doing it at a more step-by-step process, but when you've got the power of these functions, you might as well use them. Now that we've done all the required calculations, we need to figure out what mark we're going to give to the student to represent their semester. So we need a final mark. We also want some justification for that mark. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a new heading here and say final mark. And then I'm going to add in a new column. So I'm going to go to Insert, Columns, add one column to the right, and I'll change that to say, call it comment. And make it bigger so that you can type more space. Now your job is to look at the data that you've calculated here, the minimum, the median, the mode, the mean, and the max, and figure out what final mark you're going to give to the student. So it's going to be based on one of those numbers, and then you need to justify it. Why did you choose that number? Keep in mind what we learned previously, where teachers look for consistency, so what marks did they get most often, and what are the more recent marks. Those are the factors you need to consider in choosing the final mark for the student, and explain that in your comment.